Good morning. You are listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city at WFOY 1240 AM studios. Through the power of the Internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1240news.com. The show will also be archived on RyalAuctions.com as they are the host of this program. Additionally, this show will be posted on YouTube.com. We are going to be talking about real estate auctions. I've got a wonderful guest right on the line right now. Well, he will be calling back, hopefully. I just missed him. We're going to be talking about past auctions, upcoming auctions, different real estate markets across the country. We've got a lot of topics today. And we've got Mike Pappas, who is the CEO of the Kai's Company in Miami, Florida. Very exciting to have him on. And, again, our mission statement is to provide an educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for auctions across the country. Again, Mike Pappas, one of the real mainstays of the South Florida real estate market. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Doug.
Mr. Pappas. Well, thank you so much for calling in.
It's exciting to be talking to you this bright Friday morning.
Well, I just gave you a little introduction as one of the mainstays of the South Florida real estate market, you and your family and your company. You are the CEO of Kai's Real Estate down in the South Florida area. Tell us a little bit about the company, if you would, Mike.
Yeah, the company was founded in Miami in 1926, so we're celebrating our 86th year this year. We're proud of it to be a local family-owned and operated business in South Florida history for that long. There's few and far between as we look at back on the landscape of the growth of South Florida. We serve Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach up into Martin and Port St. Lucie, which is a 6 million demographic area, the 39th GDP of the world.
Wow.
In the Southeast Florida. But we have 28 offices, 1,800 associates, and sell about $2.5 billion worth of real estate a year.
Well, just for our listeners, you and I worked together. You were kind enough to hire me back in 2003, and we started the Boynton Beach office together, and it was brand new, and we opened a couple offices, and I was thrilled to work with you, and it was my only real time between real estate auction firms. Your great number two guy, Stephen Rybell, sat down with me, and we talked about the fact that I was living in Boynton Beach, and 2 miles from my house you were opening up an office, and it was a great experience, so I want to thank you for that.
Well, that office, just so you know, is run by a veteran manager, Joanne Mazio, who replaced you. It's one of our top offices, and many of the individuals, your promotion, charisma, and integration into the community were still on that foundation that you laid with the mayors of the city, with the schools, and those programs are still going on, and the individuals that you hired are the linchpins of that office today. Howard Gelpy, along with Gons Herrera, who we just put into a management role in our Jupiter office, along with many, many others. So thank you very much, and it was an exciting time, and your work and your effort, and from your past of how to really engage a community, how to make promotions work, and really to bring a team together was a great help to us in that Boynton branch, and we're still reaping the rewards.
Well, thank you. I'm blushing, so stop that. But I will tell you
Tell me more.
I will tell you that Kai's real estate firm is different than I've ever been involved in, and I've worked with really hundreds of real estate firms across the country in doing auctions and working with them and working with the top leaders. I think I know what makes Kai's different, but I would like you to tell me, why is Kai's different than another firm down there?
Well, we like one. I'm an SOB. I think you know that. My dad was the chairman of the board. My brother and I had the opportunity to make the transition from him, and he in turn got the transition from Ken Kai's, the founder. So we're in our third generation, and I think what makes us unique is we are a family in a sense. I mean, I grew up in the business as a young man and a child, even coming down, and our the tenure of our associates and our management team is 10, 15, 20, 30 years plus. I was with an associate yesterday that joined the Kai's company in 1970, celebrating her 42nd year, and she's not just selling real estate. She's been top performing, 10, 15, 20 million dollars a year. Even to this day, she'll do over $10 million. So just quite a feat. And I think we say we can compete with the big boys across the national chains, but we're still local and neighborhood and committed to our individuals, and we have a lot of fun. We're taking our management team next week to the Dominican Republic for a retreat.
Wow.
We're going to the Marlins game. We have a contest for our associates, a listing contest as the inventory's dried up, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. And so we're hosting 300 people at the Marlin game, and then we're going on a cruise in November with all of our associates and our performers. So I think we've been able to integrate fun and family along with excellence in performance in our industry.
Well, I do agree with you that when I was there, it felt like family. It felt like we were all in it together. We were all helping each other, and that's not exactly the cutthroat type of fashion that you see in some firms. So it really made a difference to me. I was very thrilled to be part of it. I'm glad you're still involved with the Florida Marlins. And do they still have a picnic area? Or?
Yeah, it's funny you said that. I mean, you remember when we supported them when they had their World Series run,
yes,
and we sent them the Cuban sandwiches on every playoff game that they had, and they would take a bite of the Cuban sandwiches, and we were involved in the radio and a sponsor then. So from that legacy, yes, they didn't in the new stadium have it, but we've recreated it and found it, and our marketing director was there, and so we're going to have unlimited hot dogs and hamburgers and drinks for the individuals, and it'll be out in the outfield a little bit down the first base line, but we found a similar spot that we did before and recreated that same experience.
Very nice. I remember you let me throw out the first pitch in one of those games, and it was a great time. My kids were there. They were looking up to their dad and saying, wow,
get it over the plate.
Wonder if he can make it to the plate. Exactly right. Tell me about the South Florida real estate market, Mike. It seems like always has ups and downs through the cycle, but I think you guys have made a tremendous growth in the past year or so.
Yeah, there's no question that the South Florida market and real estate in general is a cyclical business. And if you look at South Florida, we really opened up and burgeoned with air conditions. And after World War II, you got the suburban sprawls. South Florida specifically, from Homestead to Jupiter, is 118 miles, almost similar to Long Island, and it's about 25 miles wide from the Everglades to the ocean. So, and there's 6 million people. And through that growth, if you look back historically, you do have spikes and valleys. I mean, remembering 74, which was a little bit of a recession and crisis, and then in 82 when interest rates were very high, and 92 when we had the RTC crisis that you did a lot of auctions in and were very successful in. And we had the same thing happen in 2008 where we bottomed out for a lot of reasons, and I think you do realize, I think fundamentally it was because of the non-credit worthy loans that we put into place. Basically, we stopped verifying the ability to pay by borrowers, and when you do that, believe it or not, people will borrow more than they can afford, and thus the bubble and the boom, and thus the recorrection to that. We're through all that, and I'm here to say that the inventory peaked in 2008, and prices crushed because of the short sales, and the banks went to a free-flow capitalistic market like they did with the Resolution Trust Corp back in 92 on the commercial side. We found our bottom in 9 and 10. Our units have been up since '08. '08 was the bottom of our units, and I'm sitting here to tell you we have no inventory today. Wow. And prices are rising to the tune of double-digit rates at this stage in the game, because under $300,000 price in South Florida, there's less than a 3-month supply of inventory. So it really has moved through. It hasn't been quick. It's actually been 4 or 5 years, but to think of where we were even 2 or 3 years ago and where we are today, it's a night and day difference.
Well, again, when I was there between 2003 and 2007, a lot of speculation. People were buying property really kind of for their retirement. They were looking at their bank accounts, and they were getting a couple percent on the interest, and they were looking at stock market, and they weren't doing that well, and they were seeing real estate go up 10%, 15%, sometimes 20% a year during those times. And they said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to buy a bigger and better house or another house, and then we're going to sell it in a few years, and that will be our retirement plan. And that's a tough one.
Right. Well, what happened there is we lost basically all fundamentals for whatever reason. People believed that the historic foreclosure and distressed amounts for loans would carry on forever, and they thought that you did not have, had no income verification loans. And once you put that into place in 2003 and 2004 and started doing loans on signatures rather than verification, then that allowed people to buy multiple homes, get highly leveraged, $1 million of debt on people making $50,000 based on those assumptions, and you can, and that's what a speculation was, and that's actually what happened. So we did have that 20-30% rise up, and we have now had the correction. If you look historically over time, Doug, real estate is what I call a slow growth to wealth. It's not a fast growth to wealth, and historically in South Florida and really around the nation, it's outperformed inflation by 0.5% to 1 and 1.5%. So if you look back a 50, 60-year history, inflation has been about 3%, and you've seen real estate appreciate at 4 and 5%. Now, when you get into limited land like you're getting here, you do see some higher prices. New York City, D.C., San Francisco, L.A., where you've literally have no more land of growth and have population growth and density, you're going to get a little bit more skyrocketing of prices. But so we're back to that line. And when you said 20, 30%, that's just not sustainable at any level. And we should have known. And looking back in the rearview mirrors, it was kind of like, of course. But like you said, many people didn't and bought the drank the Kool-Aid, and now we've gone through probably the biggest correction of real estate since the Great Depression.
Well, you are involved with top real estate leaders across the country, probably across the world, because of your past, because of your great company. What is your crystal ball? I know real estate is location. I know you're in the South Florida market. But what do you think overall? What's happening? What's your crystal ball? What are the trends?
I'll give you a couple points, and I think those are great questions. And there is a lot of confusion, and people want to know what is the future, because it's been the biggest drop in real estate values, like I said, since the Great Depression. Across the country, values have decreased more than 30%. But as I stand here with you, Doug, there's no question that the worst is over. And I know there's still some concern and fear, so let's just break it down. Okay. And it is location. But we belong to a Realty Alliance, which is a network of 60 of the largest brokerage firms across the country. Baird and Warner in Chicago, Long and Foster in D.C., John L. Scott in Washington State. And so we meet with them regularly and do brainstorming. And in our last meeting a few months ago, across the country, everybody was up. and every market was improving. Now, Atlanta may be a little bit of the one that's off, but the Phoenixes and the Arizonas and Californias, everybody is outperforming. That was not the case a year ago or 2 years ago, and we had some stimulus with the tax credits, and the reason is we've lowered prices. The investors have come in, people are buying. The rental market, because of the distress that people have lost their homes, they're moving to the rental market. The rental market is very strong, and so all of that dynamic together is giving me a very strong confidence that we've seen the bottom, and we're seeing price increases, and we're seeing movement in a positive boom, a stronger market. I wouldn't say boom market. If you do look back historically, there are roller coasters and cycles, and we're definitely out of the last cycle into a movement that I think will last a few more years, 2, 3, 4 years into the puzzle. The last piece of the puzzle that is really continuing tonight is I believe, a subsidy of interest rates. My son-in-law and my daughter are trying to buy a condominium in Manhattan, and they had I said, well, you better go get qualified, and it's a jumbo loan, which is it's greater than Fannie Mae's, and which are difficult to get due to the pricing up there. And he called me back and said, I've been approved for a 3.3% 10-year fixed jumbo loan interest rates.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I said, now it's going to adjust thereafter. I said, well, what if you wanted a 30-year fixed, because I'm a conservative guy? And he said, it's 4.2. So to think a jumbo loan, which is greater than the Fannie Mae requirements of, I think, $417,000,
right,
is today at 4.2% on a 30-year rate, or 3.3 on a 10-year note. I mean, it's just quite amazing, and I think that's continuing to fuel the fire. So when you have low inventory and no inventory and have demand, there's no question that we're in a cycle that's going. 4 years ago, we had high inventory and less demand, and thus the correction that we've gone through.
Well, you talked a little bit about interest rates. Is financing out there? Is it available? Because it was very tight for a while. Is it better now?
Yeah, well, again, I called it the fog loans. If you breathed and could fog a mirror, you could get a loan back when you were with us in 2003, 2004, and that's part of the problem. We said that. Today, if you have a job, if you have good credit, 640 plus is really the credit that they're looking for, you can get a loan. Now, they are going to ask a lot of questions. It is a more tedious process. The pendulum has swung against leniency to tightness, but we're doing loans every day in a very smooth. FHA, I think, is a boom today. There's a 70 million young people called Generation Y, the millennials that are coming into the market. They're starting to get to their late 20s, early 30s, and with an FHA loan under $400,000, $417,000, with 3.5% down only, so you're talking $12,000, $15,000 on a $400,000 house, let alone $5,000 and $6,000 on a couple $100,000 home. People can enter into the market. They need a job. They need consistency. They need to show proof of funds, or where if it's a gift or not. But if you go through the diligence, dot the I's and cross the T's, and get the paperwork in, there's lending very readily and very much available, and it is happening consistently and easily through that process. Now, if you don't have proof of funds, if you don't have a good job, then obviously you're not going to be able to get a loan in this environment.
Right. Now, you did say that I think 1,800 associates right now. That's wonderful. Are young people starting to get into the business? Because there was a time, I'm going to say after the boom of 2008 and everything dropped, a lot of people left the real estate business because it became so tough, and no one was joining the real estate ranks. What's happening now as far as you see it?
Yeah, very good. There's a flight to quality within the industry, and so we've grown at the bottom of 2008 from 1,350 associates to, I think, close to 1,850, and so we found other firms that weren't being as progressive technologically, and we can talk about that, full service with the mortgage and title and insurance like we have, and being able to offer the services and really coaching and accountability from our management team, our veteran management team. We found people attracted to our model and coming over. what's interesting, and that helped and fueled our growth in the downturn. What now we've seen is a transition to new associates coming into the market, and I think economically, with the low or the high unemployment rates, it does afford oneself for limited cash to enter into a business opportunity, almost a business for themselves, with the support of an organization and structure, but have upside potential to earn and make. We have an associate that's making six figures plus, multiple associates that are making millions of dollars selling residential real estate and commercial real estate, and many people making $100,000-$200,000. So where else can you enter in for a few $1,000s and come into a business that you can be self-supporting? So the pendulum has definitely swung, Doug. That we're seeing new licensees coming in. We think we have to cater to four generations, the greatest generation now that is getting in their 70s and 80s. We have an associate that's in her 90s selling $5 million worth of real estate. Obviously, the crux of our population is the baby boomers in their height of their career, with kids in colleges and moving on and starting to get grandchildren, and that's really the core. You have the Generation X, which are the technology booms that are in their 30s and 40s, and we're finding more of them coming, more analytical individuals with processes. And then, like you said, the next group that we really are starting, a Young Turks advisory board under 30, which are the millennials that we're starting to see. I was with an associate yesterday. He's 31 years old, been with us 5-6 years, selling $10 million, Andy, and there's no question that you're seeing those people thrive, but they have to have the discipline, have to have the focus, and have to be able to self-manage themselves as their own business manager to be able to accomplish the goals.
Well, this is where, if you want to be an entrepreneur, this really is your own business. I mean, you're
right
there to assist. You've got a great background, great training, but it's up to them and their desire and their drive.
Right, no question about it. I think there's great opportunity as people are shifting, and the business is shifting. Distressed sales, we had to reinvent the market on short sales, and so Fritz Hawkins, our general manager, and Joy Lynette, our Family of Services Advisory Council, basically came up with a whole process on how to handle short sales. It's obviously more tedious. That's still in the marketplace. It's dropped from 60% of our market, the REO, bank-owned, and distressed selling, to probably 40% now, but there still is a process that are people working through that are underwater. All the people that you said that bought the homes in 04, 05, 06 and saw their price drop dramatically and became underwater, we're helping them most of the time wipe out any deficiency judgment against them. They're able to move on, able to capitalistically kind of market price the property to the market, and they're coming up for another day. And I think that's what America's all about, is when you get beat up, you get kicked, you may be down for the count for one time, but it's getting back up into the game, and we're seeing lots of people do that and transform. So it is, technology's another area. I mean, the Internet has transformed. You were coming in when it was just starting to happen, but 95% of the people look on the computer and the Internet to find a home today. So we had 70,000 leads come through Kai's last year.
Wow.
Through our system and our lead router system, and so there's no question that takes a different dynamic. And so what I like about real estate, it's not personality driven. You can find the engineer, the processor, the salesman, the school teacher, the nurse. All of those personalities can be very effective in our industry, but you find your niche, you utilize the tools that work for you, and you help people buy and sell properties.
Mike, we're going to have to go for a break. I'm hoping you will stay on. I want to talk about a whole bunch more things, and thank you for being a guest. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
All right, we're back. You're listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison. We have Michael Pappas, the CEO of Kai's Realtors in Miami, Florida. Mike, you still with us?
Yes.
Great. We talked about the South Florida real estate market and Kai's. You are such a leader in the real estate industry, and tell us what you think makes a great real estate associate.
That's a great question, Doug. I mean, it's interesting. I think more and most importantly is we're going over the 7 habits of highly successful people, and we're rolling that and refreshing ourselves on that book. And it's interesting. So the first trait would be, do I understand myself, who I am, what I'm gifted for? You have different personalities. My brother and I are obviously co-owners of Kai's. He's an accountant, an engineer, a technological person, and I'm the opposite. They call me sometimes the mouth. So there's no right or wrong with who you are. So the first point I'd say is know yourself and know who you are. And then the second is to be able to have the end in mind. What am I working for? What are my gifts good at? And then the third is to execute that and have the persistence and the systems and the daily due diligence in it. So when you say, what is a trait of a great person, I think it's somebody that likes helping and solving problems, knows and listens to other people and helps them, guides them through like a consultant and a therapist to accomplish their goals, but is disciplined and focused in their approach and is persevering over what some would think are objections and frustrations and difficulties, but more importantly, as I look at them, they're opportunities to find the gold at the end of the day. So if you have that trait, you know yourself, you're focused, you're able to determine your plan, and you're consistent and persevering with that plan and able to help people accomplish their goal, I think you've got a winning team.
Well, you have a winning team. I had a guest on a couple weeks ago talking about training, and it's amazing that the top professionals are the ones seeking more knowledge. They're the ones that are going out trying to make themselves better, even though they're at the top of the industry. They're the ones that want to know the new stuff, and you do a great job in making training opportunities available. But it seems like these top professionals just continue to stay at the top and do great things. What's your feeling about that?
Yeah, I think great athletes, great performers are never satisfied with their own production. I found that just like you and your profession, you're never satisfied. You want to do more auctions, do more business, and raise the bar to a different level. And I found that with us, the Marta Duprees, the Kevin Spinas, they're doing $40 and $50 million in annual sales, but they want to do $100 million. And so there's this inner strength inside of people that it's what I call it's the nebulous factor. It's very hard to define, but they've got it in a sense, and so they're just real competitors to move forward. And so you're right. I think that the market does transform and change. You have to keep adapting, just as we have here today. We're adapting to a new market, from what I call a distressed market to a normal market. We have buyers still wanting to buy at yesterday's prices, and they can't. We have sellers starting to test the new pricing of the market to see if they can get more. So you've kind of always are navigating through and to find a new one. We find just like the great athletes, I mean, LeBron James and D. Wade, just for our own neighborhood, they don't go out and win championships without practicing 100 times more than they do in the game. So we have 24/7 online training with David Knox, 200 videos that our associates, the next generation or the current generation, can watch at their leisure, that has dialogue and has communications and what to say in certain instances. And we broke it down into sound bites of 5, 10, 15 minute breaks. We bring in national speakers, Buffini. We have a program that we just rolled out in our Coral Gables office, where again, relationship selling, how to keep in contact with everybody else, and how to utilize your Facebook and your sphere of influence to do business. We have Mike Ferry and Mark Leader, where we bring in classes of 200 and 300, let alone our veteran trainer, Phil Claudio, who's been training Kai's associates for over 40 years, but and still gets rave reviews from our associates as they come out of like our introductory training program. So you're right. You need to stay on top. You need to keep reading. And my answer is if you're not fully engaged in this market or any other business, you'll start sliding and dying, and you won't be able to perform at the same level.
Well, you mentioned Marta Dupree, and of course I was there when she worked at a different office, of course, but she was the leader and rose the bar for everyone else. Not only that, but she was somebody that gave time of herself to show other people, that would share her secrets, and I don't think everybody does that in this business. Marta is really,
we were
special.
fortunate. She's been with us some 35 years now, and she's still young, Marta, if you're listening.
Yes.
There's no question that she was a class act and kind of like the Queen of England, a great role model for our organization, and she had great aplomb and style and care and realness about her that made you feel special, but she was down to earth. And like I said, she did $80 million in the booms, but you'd think she's like the girl next door. So no question about it that she's helped a lot of our associates and set the bar at a level for decades at a time of what a great achiever it really is.
Well, tell me about, since I haven't been there for a while, tell us about some of your other Kai superstars that are, just keeping on and keeping on.
It's interesting. You're seeing new people rise up. Kevin Spina is our number one producer at this stage in for the 6th month at the halftime. He is a individual that had his own business. He's in our Palm Beach Gardens office. He ran restaurant. He was a fireman, and on his part-time days, he ended up starting a restaurant called Nature's Way. Had a number of restaurant chains, and so has a tremendous entrepreneurial nature. Got out of the restaurant, retired from the fire department, and then came into real estate when everybody else would go fishing. He's a marathoner. He's in his 50s, and he can run in 3-hour marathons. Really quite. I have never seen a more dedicated and intense individual, and he will sell $50-60 million this year, and probably on his way to the $100 million mark with a great team, with a great effort, and a great focus.
Wow, nice. Anybody else that you see coming up and rising?
People are going to get mad. I can go all the way through. It's interesting. What I like about this business is, I mentioned Andy, he's 31 years old. There's no question that we have Nell Hammer that's 92 years old, and so you've kind of got every personality in between. And so as I look through the list, what's amazing to me is the individuals that are rising up. I just wrote a letter, Christiane, out of our Doral office. Her mother was in the business with a competitor. She came over to us, and she's been diligent through this market, and she just closed $5 million for the first half of this year.
Wow.
So you're talking $150,000 in commissions through 6 months, and she's on her way to what we call an an 8-figure year, which is really puts you at the top of your class, $10 million or plus, which would give a gross commission level of $300,000. So every area, we're seeing people move up into management. Kevin Leonard is our youngest manager. We opened up on Palm Beach Island, the island of Palm Beach, with a brand called Mirsky Velour. He's 31 years old. When he merged his firm in, he had 4 or 5 associates. Today he has 50, first-class associates on the island, and we're seeing that office really excel. It's next to 2J's off of Royal Point Siena. If you know that market, we're opening up in Delray, an office on Atlantic, and then we picked up an extra office in Doral. We have 2 offices in Doral with Ellie that have 20-25% of the market. Port St. Lucie, we opened up in that office in the downturn, and then along with a commercial office in downtown West Palm Beach. So a lot of exciting things going on, and a lot of growth, and a lot of new rising talent in this business.
Well, I know you could spend at least a couple hours talking about your great agents, but I'm going to switch it a little bit.
Okay.
This is a real estate auction radio show. You and Kais and I and Steve Rybel have worked together. We've done a auction in Homestead for a military base. We've done condos in North Bay Village. We've done Miami Beach condos. We actually did a government-owned real estate called Gore Auctions 1,000 years ago. I really appreciate the fact that you were willing to work with us because it helps auctioneers to have great real estate brokers to work with, and we both made great commissions and served the client.
No question that auction is an alternative. Just as the internet is changing the way people search and look for properties, I believe auctions are moving in that same direction. They've been historically around, and we've used them in many cases. I think commercially, we talked about the residential market pretty much on this phone call. Commercially, we're still seeing some defaults due to the fact that they have calls on their notes, meaning that if somebody took out a commercial loan in 2007, it's basically ballooning or coming due in 2012. Due to the unemployment and the recession, the Great Recession we've been through, some of those properties are not performing as well as they were. Ironically and really frustratingly, the borrower is continuing to pay, but the bank, due to the new regulations, can't renew the loan. So it's forcing, in a sense, short sales in the commercial market, and we're seeing auctions stepping up into that marketplace to do it. My daughter bought her first home. I have 5 children. My 26-year-old daughter got married, came home, and married her college sweetheart, and they bought an auction at the steps at the home where the auction was being performed on the steps of the home. So I think there's no question it's a valuable vehicle and an opportunity and an alternative to marketing real estate, and I think you guys excel in that.
Well, thank you. You talked a little bit about commercial. I know you've got Larry down there, who I am great friends with, and he's a great leader in the commercial real estate area. I've also been keeping you up to date on the fact that the government has 14,000 government surplus properties that are not being used. They're vacant. These are not residential homes. They're not Fannie or Freddie. So they're basically commercial properties, office buildings, warehouses, and lands. I want to talk to you about the fact that a property, whether it's residential or commercial, if it is not being used and if it's vacant and most likely not being maintained, what does that do to the value, and what kind of cost does a seller have?
I think that's the misnomer. You know who's got that right, Doug, is the corporate relocation firms who relocate executives around the country. They know a vacant house costs dramatically more than a habitable house. Just the maintenance, the deterioration, the wear and tear. For some reason, when somebody's not living in the property or occupying the property, it becomes basically deteriorates a lot faster. And then when you add in the cost of carry, the loss of income, and all of those things along with the maintenance, I do not see any benefit of holding to a property that you're not occupying, that's not being rented, that's not being moved. And so if the government, and I think you're saying that, has surplus properties, and we have this, trillions of dollars of national debt, I've driven around and seen such surpluses. I think there's no question that would be a great opportunity in today's market with the demand and the increase of values that we're starting to see, to be able to move those into an auction process and bring cash into the government, let alone now real estate taxes being paid as the user because the government's not paying taxes, and utilize that back into what I call the free market approach. So anything we can do to help you in that regards, I think you guys are onto something very much needed and necessary, and I think that would be very valuable to our country as a whole.
Well, it's amazing. I always talk about the post office in Washington, D.C., that the holding cost for the government is $6 million a year, and it's been vacant for 10 years. So that's $60 million that you and I as taxpayers are paying. Had no idea, but this is just one property, and as President Obama said a couple of years ago, there's 14,000 of these properties. Congressman Jeff Denham sponsored a bill called H.R. 1734 that got passed by the House. It's now moved into the Senate. They're working on it, tweaking it. I hope that it passes because it's a bill that will help try to sell some of these properties, get it off the tax rolls and tax paying from you and I for properties that are not being used. And when I say they're not being used, the government has gone to all the other agencies and said, "Do you want these properties?" And they've said no. So these are not being used. So we need to sell them quickly. Of course, I'm a big fan of auctions. I think it's the most fair, most transparent way, and you got to do that when it's a government property.
Right, so that everybody gets out. No, I think there's no question the urgency and the bid, and we're seeing it more in the commercial realm as a real alternative to liquidate, to get the urgency, to get it out, to put the deadline in, and get the individuals to bid accordingly. And I think it becomes a very normal and transparent process, and so I couldn't agree with you more, Doug.
Well, actually, Congressman Denham is coming down to Miami on August 6th. He's going to have a congressional hearing on that same thing. I'm looking forward to going down. Hopefully I can run into you at the same time. Mike, it's been great to have you on. How do people contact Kai's to find out about properties, to get a property they can buy, contact you to sell properties?
Where they Kai's.com, Keyes, 2 E's in Kai's.com, and on there we have literally every single property from every broker from Orlando to the Keys. So you literally have tens of thousands of properties that they can search. There's programs on there that they can put in a saved search if they're looking for a specific area, and it'll update them. And then also now we've added Market Tracker, which is a zip code area on there, and they can sign up for that will give them all the sales data and information in a zip code, or they can even go down and go into a My Neighborhood Watch where you can circle around on a map and say, I want this neighborhood, I want this area, and it'll then update you on all the price changes, all the sales, all the pendings, and all the new listings in the area that you may live in or that you may be looking for, along with the other ones that will be showing you the new listings that come on. So really, we're in an age of information and technology that there's no question that you can you can learn very quickly and effectively the market, and then hopefully, and we think and we're finding, because it's not so easy, you choose a realtor that can help you through that process.
Well, and as a personal aside, if you are a real estate person that's looking to get into the business or making a change, Keyes, which is KEYES.com, is the way to go. I know you've got information on that site too. Mike Pappas, CEO of Keyes, a leader in the real estate industry. Thank you so much for being on, and you have a great weekend.
You too, Doug. Look forward to seeing you when you're down.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. All right, that was Mike Pappas. Again, he's just such a great leader in that South Florida market and across the country in real estate. We're going to do a quick break, and we'll be right back.
MarkNet Alliance is a national, membership-based network of 41 auction companies. Our companies are successful auction professionals with proven track records and thriving businesses. The MarkNet companies have a staff of over 540 employees who are working hard every day to meet the goals of their clients during our ever-changing economy. MarkNet companies are able to achieve these goals through cutting-edge technologies and ever-growing investor pools. To view the hundreds of auctions currently being conducted, or for more information, visit marknetalliance.com.
All right, we're back. Hey, our sponsor is Rao Auctions. They are a national real estate auction firm that started in 1936. They do online auctions, on-site auctions, and ballroom auctions. We have another caller. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Doug.
Hey, Allison, I was just talking about Rowell Auctions. Started in 1936, and of course, you're kind of the glue that holds that whole firm together, in my opinion. You do such a great job up in Georgia, but it's a national firm. You guys have offices in Florida, New Jersey, California, Georgia, and have alliances with auctioneers and real estate brokers across the country. And so I know you've got upcoming auctions. I want to ask first, how do people get a hold of Rowell Auctions?
There's two ways. The first way is via the internet at rowellauctions.com, and that's ROWELLAUCTIONS.com, all together. The second way is our 800 number at 800-323-8388.
And that 800 number, you might be the one, Allison Marchetti, that answers that phone and talks to these people.
More than likely, yes.
Very good. Well, you and I have been working together, and I appreciate it. You are the executive producer of this radio show. Just do an excellent job. We just got a new auction together. The fact that there's a big bankruptcy auction coming up in Ocala, Florida. It's a 119-acre horse farm. It's going to be held Friday, August 24th at 11 a.m. It's going to be held on-site, but online bidding is available. We're going to be working with Joan Pletcher, who is one of the top brokers in the Ocala area. A great big horse farm that I think is going to generate a lot of interest.
It's beautiful. We do have some information up already on the website.
We just actually got hired, and so the staff has been doing a great job in getting the pictures up, and I think we've got a flyer, and we're also going to be seeking brokers to assist us and finding their buyers, and we will be paying them a 2% commission if on the bid price if they bring a buyer and register them, and I believe that form is going to be online too. We always seem to work with real estate brokers because it helps them, it helps us, and it helps the clients.
Yes, it does.
Well, it's very important that brokers continue to work with us. We'll be sending out a lot of these flyers that they can register their clients. Internet bidding, which is going to be for this upcoming property. How do you do that? If you're a novice, how do you go about with internet bidding for Rowell Auctions?
Basically, at the website, you will go to the auction that you're interested in, and you register for that particular auction. It's a one-page registration, so it's very simple to fill out. It's automatic, either approval or denial, so you'll know right away, no waiting. You can bid right after you register. If you have any trouble, we have videos on how to register. Also, we have the 800 number, and you can call me and I can help walk you through registration. And it's basically just a simple click and register.
We also have a lot of other auctions that are coming up, multi-property auctions. It's going to be an exciting time. I know that some of our people are getting more training right now up at the NAA convention. So we have been talking to the guests prior how important training is. And so it's great that our people are there and getting more knowledge to bring back to the rest of the team. It is, again, a very, very interesting auction time. We're seeing a lot of bankruptcy auctions. We're seeing a lot of banks saying, hey, we need to sell property. Let's do it by auctions. And also, they're doing a lot of absolute auctions. What is an absolute auction?
Absolute auction is basically no minimum, no reserve. It will go to contract to the highest bidder.
Okay. Very, very good. Listen, the show is about to be completed, but I want one more time, if you would. How can people contact you, Allison Marchetti, at Rowell Auctions?
The number is 800-323-8388, and also at RowellAuctions.com.
Very good. Hey, Allison, thank you so much for all your help, and look forward to seeing you soon. You do a great job with the radio show. Thank you, and continued success.
Take care, Doug.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, that was Allison Marchetti. She is with Rowell Auctions, the person that you'll hear when you call 800 323-8388. And again, you can go on their website, which is RowellAuctions.com. We have had Michael Pappas on the line for the interview today. Michael Pappas, CEO of Kai's Realtors in Miami, leader in real estate, not only in that area, but nationally, a great leader, and I want to thank him for being on. The Kai's real estate firm is one of the real firms that are progressing, that are becoming bigger and better every day. If you are a real estate professional, you might want to check into their growth and how you can get involved. I'm going to be in Miami on August 6th. There's a congressional hearing chaired by Congressman Jeff Denham on government surplus properties. Very interesting, very exciting. I want to thank everyone for listening today. We will be back next week. And again, I thank you for listening. Take care.